and then develop a plan from there on how to address that. So we have done the audit, and we found that around 4,000 schools across the country have only pit latrines as a form of sanitation.
Sure.
One of the challenges is that about 3,000 schools have both. They have pit latrines and other forms of acceptable sanitation. What the challenge is, and the school that Lumka passed away at, sadly, has other sanitation, but the pit latrines were never demolished. And that's something that we found is in about 3,000 schools, where the schools still keep those old pit latrines and don't demolish them. So the process that we're going to go through now will not only be to provide proper sanitation to those schools where only pit latrines exist, but also to go on a process and embark on a process of ensuring that those unsafe and unused, mostly, pit latrines are demolished in a proper and safe way.
So you're talking about 7,000 schools in South Africa, tens of thousands of kids then, maybe hundreds of thousands of kids, or thousands of kids, but we want to know more than that. Why, we've just got a figure now, but is the department not making huge headway into actually eradicating these, and if not, why not?
No, we have, and we've been eradicating them on a massive scale. Through the SABC project, we've had hundreds of schools that have received water and sanitation in terms of building complete new schools to eradicate those unsafe structures. We're on 204 now SABC schools that have been built. But obviously, these are all dependent on budget and processes. You must understand that government goes through a budgeting and planning process, and unfortunately, these things take time. For example, we weren't sitting on our hands and doing nothing about the sanitation issue. We've been upgrading sanitation and improving sanitation, but our plans take us to 10 years from now. And as the President has said, that isn't good enough. We need to find a plan to really bring that process forward and make it faster. So what we're doing, one of the initiatives we have, because obviously I'm sure you know, the budget is quite strained. It'll cost billions to replace all of these toilets. The figure that's bandied about is around 7 billion rand to replace all of the pit latrines that are currently in existence. And that's why our plans go through a number of years. But what we've done is we're partnering with the Nelson Mandela Foundation to really look at how we can come together and bring different entities of society, your business, your civil society, together to help us eradicate this pit latrine problem, because it's really not something we can do on our own.
So I understand what you're saying about finances, but this is alarming after kids died falling into pit latrines, thousands affected. Why was there a deadline set for November 2016 if from what you're saying, the department had no chance to ever meet that?
Yeah, that was the ACD deadline for the Accelerated Schools Infrastructure Development.
Okay, so that wasn't
program.
to eradicate unsafe structures.
That was to eradicate your mud schools, your inappropriate structures, your mud schools, your asbestos schools, and your planky schools.
Pit latrines wasn't included.
So you have schools in communities where proper functioning, brick and mortar schools, where there isn't running water. So you must realize that a lot of our schools, and the majority of our pit latrines, are in rural KwaZulu-Natal, rural Eastern Cape, and rural Limpopo, where running water isn't available. So we have to look at alternative technologies in those areas. For example, your EnviroLoos, or what we call your VIP, your ventilated toilet systems, which are a type of system that ventilates, and it's a cleaner type of non-waterborne toilet, basically. So these are some of the challenges that we have, is that, for example, there is no water, so you can't put a flushing toilet in there.
Yeah. Chemical toilets, aren't there a whole lot of technical innovations
these are what we're
that can
looking
be
at,
used?
and we're looking at the VIP toilets and the EnviroLoos in particular in those types of areas.
So you've said 7,000 schools. Now at least we have a number, still have pit latrines, thousands of kids affected. Can you give us timelines? How do we hold the Department of Basic Education to account? When will we go from 7,000 to 6,000, say?
Well, the President said that he wants that plan within 3 months. And that deadline is looming, and the department is currently working on a comprehensive costed plan to look at exactly how we can address that. So that process is still underway, because like I said, our original plans took us to 2025, and that is a bit too far for us. We want to bring that forward. So we're revising all of our plans, and that's quite a process. But we'll definitely release that to the media as soon as that process is
And if
complete.
the president is on board, you would think money would be released. So are you expecting that?
Well, we have to present that plan to the president and to cabinet, and then cabinet and obviously the treasury will have to look at that and see where they may have to reprioritize. For example, some of the provinces have said that they can reprioritize their own budgets, their own existing budgets, to focus on first eradicating pit latrines and then doing other infrastructure projects after that. So, for example, I think it's your Northwest province, I can't remember which provinces exactly offhand now. They've said that it's 3 provinces out of the 9 that have said they can reprioritize their budget because their issues aren't as big, for example, as your provinces like KZN, Limpopo and the Eastern Cape. Your Western Cape and Gauteng, their main problem isn't really pit latrines. Their main sanitation problems are more around the number of toilets per school. For example, their schools, because of the influx of people into our more urban provinces, their schools are quite crowded in terms of how many learners per toilet, for example, there are.
All right, we've run out of time. Thank you for being with us this evening. Although, sure, what a number, 7,000 schools affected.
I think just to clarify, it's 4,000, the 7,000
with only pit latrines. 3,000 with pit latrines.
So most of those just need to be demolished. It's not that they need to have...
All right, and hopefully we'll be soon talking about the eradication completely of pit latrines. Troy Martins from the Department of Basic Education. We take a short break. I'll be back with more.